as I think about engagement, it is this sort of voluntary, sustained participation in whatever kind of activity that we're designing. So it is voluntary, that the person has to be able to leave if they want to leave, and it has to be sustained. Now, that's sustaining can be something that's in one big dose, where you might sort of say, like, I'm doing an activity and I just don't want to leave this thing for 45 minutes. But could also be that sustained interaction can come over days or weeks or months, where I might come back again and again. So we have to think about multiple time scales when we think about things like engagement. One thing I would warn against is, we do a lot of work in games. And so as we think about games, people often think about, well, that games are fun, and so people like fun, so that will sort of, that's what I want to shoot for. And what fun looks like is, people smiling and giggling and having fun, like watching a silly cartoon. And that's what they think that fun looks like. And that's not necessarily what engagement looks like. Engagement often looks like people being frustrated. It's people call it pleasant frustration. My former colleague, late colleague, Seymour Papert, called it hard fun. And the idea that sort of like you're being challenged, it is that zone of proximal development you're kept in. You fail sometimes. You ultimately get it. The fun, the engagement comes from succeeding after a series of failures. So my advice would be not to necessarily look for people smiling and giggling. My advice is to sort of think about ways in which people don't want to give up a task. Do they persist in spite of failure? Are they persisting through challenging situations? I think, do they come back? Maybe, again, that persistence doesn't necessarily need to be continuous. They can sort of revisit something. We do surveys with the people who participate in our activities in terms of engagement. And we do interviews and ask them about ways which they've engaged. We ask them about their choices that they made along the way. That's somewhat more reliable. Obviously, it's harder to scale those things. More and more so, we do rely on metrics from the digital technologies that we use. So we look at how frequently someone will come back to it, how long each session is, and we look at some of those things in relation to the activities that they were doing in that space. Are they coming back simply because they had success? Are they coming back in spite of failure? And I think actually, while time and frequency become some measures of engagement, the more complex way that we can look at things with respect to with the specific activities that someone's doing within that space, I think those become more interesting measures of their sustained engagement. So are they going back to places that ultimately challenge them? Are they sort of being in that zone of proximal development where we would think as researchers and designers that they would be most engaged, or are they doing things in other places?